chair for the Weston Public Works and Utility Committee.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
Sagami, have excused. Hardinger,
Here.
Hubbard, excused. Lopes Serrero,
Here.
Mumper.
Do you have anything for public comments? Nothing online. We just always submit.
Nope, I'm the only one online, so.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the 5/8/23 Public Works and Utility Committee minutes. Approved.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything in discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Staff reports. Number 6, the KIP update.
All right, I'll run through this quick. Weston Avenue projects underway. They're working on some of the marshing over by Progress Way, and then starting to get set for the sanitary sewer and water main installation from Zinzer heading west towards Ryan. It's Northwestern Avenue. The repaving project is complete. We had a walkthrough with the DOT last week. There's a little bit of shoulder work that needs to be touched up, but for the most part, that project is done. And got an agenda item for our East Jelnik and Von Kennel, which I believe our 2 audience members are here for. Which I guess I can identify them if that helps. So on the left here is Dan Kneck, I guess right, he's with MSA, and then Tanya Westfall with Clark Dietz. So welcome, in case anyone's curious what audience members are there. And then we've got a couple other proposals we'll be getting out yet this year for Ross Avenue. And then Schofield Ave and Fuller Street. And the Birch Street project, Switlick was back last week doing some restoration work. And then we're still waiting to hear back from American Asphalt on some of the issues with the walking path where it was damaged by the fence contractor. They put a couple gouges in the path, had their machinery sitting on it while they're installing. So looking at that, and then same thing with the Apache project. There's a few yards that still need some attention as far as restoration goes. Contractor indicated they'd get to that once the Trotzer lift station is done, which should be the end of next week, about the end of next week. So we will be getting that taken care of then. Yeah, I guess that's it as far as our capital projects, I guess, for the time being. You have other questions for me?
Be able to address some of that over.
They will be. So like I said, when they come back, it's the same contractor working on the lift station, so they don't want to mobilize twice because they have restoration work they have to do there. So
Did you think you communicated back to? I don't remember if that was 5 or 6.
yeah, I'll have to let Kurt know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just, it would be nice.
Yep.
If we could follow up. Thank you.
Yep, will do.
We don't have anything there's no action on that item. It's just
Nope, it's just a report.
operations update.
Okie dokie. Sorry, it's gonna be. Basically, if you look through the report, you'll see the upcoming stuff. Ryan Street recycling. Norcon's working out at Schofield Avenue, and Summers is working on Stone Ridge, so we're getting concrete in. So that's just something to keep up with there. We're gonna get started now this week. We're up to full staff finally since October. The 2 new employees were hired. The last one started today, which will help a lot. So we're out mowing, gonna get going up in Windermere Oaks. That's off of Birch to the west at subdivision, start raising manholes and water valves, got some inlet work to do. And then we're gonna do the milling along the curb. Try and get that done so American can come in and do the asphalt overlays. So that's our primary focus now, is to just try and go after the streets that are gonna have the asphalt overlays on them and get the manholes raised. I talked to Jason from American last week, and he said it's kind of like a first come, first serve. That's our biggest subdivision that we're gonna overlay this year. So the goal is to get that one milled, get everything wrapped up so he can come in and pave. Then we're gonna go after the rest of the streets on the paving. Precision seal coating was supposed to start. He was talking today or maybe tomorrow. He's supposed to come into town. He's gonna start doing our crack sealing. There's quite a few roads that are gonna get, well, let's put it this way. The streets that are gonna get the GSB 88 asphalt sealer on them need to be crack sealed first. So the goal is to get the crack sealing done with him, then we can get Farner in to do the GSB 88 sealing on those streets. That's kind of where we're at. In between, it's keeping up with mowing. A little more rain would be nice because the gravel roads are dry. We've been watering some. I talked to Kafka about purchasing some calcium chloride. We'll see what the weather's gonna do. Otherwise, we might shoot some calcium chloride on like East Nick, not so much East Nick, but Kamichik, and down at Ryan Street, just to try and keep the dust down. But if Mother Nature blesses us with some more rain, we might not need to spend the money on the calcium. Calcium's $1.30 a gallon. And I think we've got about $1,000 in the budget. So it's not enough to go and hit everything, but if it doesn't get some more rain, we're probably gonna end up trying it. After that, it's basically keep going, get all the roads done for the asphalt overlays. In between, just keep up with everything else that needs to be done. On Stone Ridge Drive, Summers construction is going to town. They're working it from Weston Avenue down to Ministry Parkway. They've got pretty much the interior, that would be like the median islands, done. All the concrete's done. They need to come back and put gravel in where they remove the asphalt to do the work with the concrete. Yeah, that's a picture of it down by Westview Boulevard. Then they're going to switch to the outside. They weren't there today. They must have something else going on, but I'm sure they'll return the topsoil. You've got the seeding and mulching too, and I've got a watering item in there because the goal is to get grass to grow there, not just have somebody come and throw grass seed down and walk away from it. That's not happening. So they're going to flop to the outside then, and there's a lot of curb joints. There's a lot of concrete work on the outside lanes there. So that's the next in line with them. As soon as they get that done, then I'll be poking at American to see when they could come in and do they've got the milling, they've got the manholes, water valves to do. So other than that, it's just, the other thing that's kind of pressing right now, which is, it's a little bit taxing, but is moving the stuff that's left over at the old municipal center. Mostly all of our cast iron castings are there. Okay. Some of them are going to come here. It's manhole castings, inlet frames, that kind of stuff. Some of it's going to get hauled out to Ryan Street. So it's just an added thing that takes away from the street work for us. I'm not complaining. I'm just being realistic that the plate's really full right now. So please don't harp on us about the building because we're just trying to put fires out, you know? So that's kind of where we're sitting. Questions?
Just borrowed Wausau's hot patch. Is that correct?
No, we have our own hot patch machine. What we've used from Wausau, they have an attachment that goes on a skid steer. We used it for wedging, like wedging asphalt lanes. Shoring that, we used that in the past. I worked for a couple of years, so we horse trade stuff. No, they were showing off the new one they've got. What they bought, that hot patch, is about a $60,000 machine, and basically it's a recycler. So you would take millings, throw it in there, it heats it up. It's kind of like a mortar mixer almost. If you ever see a paddle mixer for mortar, that's kind of the way it's made. So it comes in there, reheats it. Then they've got a rejuvenator that's like a puck you throw in there with it. It'll heat it up and then you can use it for patching. We've got a hot box patcher where you need to put the stuff in and it'll heat it up. This stuff actually mixes it. So it's not for paving roads. It's for
patches, right? Yeah.
Right.
Have we looked into acquiring?
We'll see. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be. They've got two hot box patch trucks that are, I think, 4 or 5 ton each. That electric plug-in ones. Then they'll run off a diesel. They've had them for years, and they use those. This is to try and give them something in the winter. In the summer, you can get fines or hot mix, so you don't need it. But in the winter time, when all you have is cold mix, that's the idea. They can put something down that's going to have AC oil in it and go from there. As long as you brought that up, there's one other thing. We had problems with stripping I talked about on the seal coated roads where the top is gone in places. This winter where the seal coat came off and the asphalt's raveled down about a half an inch. We did have a contractor come in a year ago and do 1 day's work with a spray patcher where the truck comes in and shoots the oil, shoots the rock, blows the thing clean. $5,000 got us 1 day. El Croma down at Point has one that you can rent. The problem is it uses a CRS2 oil, okay, which is a water oil. Basically, it's thicker than tack. The problem is you got to keep the oil warm. Okay, we don't have any of that. We were looking at renting this, but the oil was prohibitive. Well, I talked to Jason Lemmer last week. He's patrol superintendent up in Lincoln County. They have a patch truck like that. It's $180 an hour. They're going to be doing some work for Marathon County. And I talked with them and he said, yeah. And they've got a 1,500 gallon tank that they can put the CRS2 oil in and keep it warm. They just need the plugins. And since we have Scott Tetra working for us yet as electrician, if need to, we'll have them wire something up out at Ryan Street. They can bring the trailer down. And then we're going to look at having them Eau Claire Avenue, if you go drive that, or some of these roads where it's just spots like this, where the seal coat's gone and the asphalt is ravel, we're going to have them, rather than mill it out and put hot mix in, which is going to be really time consuming. Some of these roads, we're going to use that. And I trust Jason. I've known him for a long time, back when I was at the county. And he says what they use it for too is not just patching, but when they have a road that they're going to seal coat, chip seal over, and they have areas like that, they'll take that truck out there and they'll seal it with that CRS2 and the oil. Then they'll come and they'll chip seal over the top. Chip seal basically uses the same oil as CRS2. So I'm happy to find something like that where we'll be able to get a bigger bang for a buck. You know, the nice thing about working with the counties is they charge the state rate for the equipment. They charge their labor for the men. The only overhead you've got is their administrative fee, which is like 4% for the office, and that's it. So nothing against private business, and we can't afford a truck like that. It's probably 200 grand. Sorry, Josh.
Anybody have anything else? No, sorry. Next up, Josh.
All right, guys are staying busy. We're in the middle of our flush, well, nearing, I guess, towards the end of our flushing operation since we started early part of last month. So we got 2 operators daily out there flushing our water main. I think just after our meeting last month, we ended up shutting just before our meeting last month. Our well 2 Cary well, that's kind of isolated on its own system over by Cary Foods and Rothschild, serves Cary and Rim Mountain Metro. We had to turn that well off due to the pump failing. It wasn't being able to keep up with keeping the tower levels up, and Cary had run out of water actually one morning. So we had switched over to Rothschild. So as of last week, we had Municipal Well was able to get the safe samples, all the new pump equipment put in. So we're officially back on Weston water. Everything seems to be working well with the new pump. We do have some other improvements that need to be done based off of our sanitary survey we had completed a couple years back. So we have some other items lined up for August. We'll have to have a contractor back to do some other upgrades over that way. Last week, our well 4, that's been our PFAS problem child that we have our temporary treatment system running on. We were actually the first system that the EPA teamed up with to be part of a technical project. So the EPA was on site last week, Wednesday, with all of our operators collecting an obscene amount of samples from different parts of between basically well number 4 and the entry point of our distribution system. So they were very happy with, how our guys worked with them, and they were asking a lot of questions of what we could do differently, the EPA could do differently, and what other items we may need to tweak as part of this. So it's a little bit extra on the plate of our guys right now. It's gonna be every other week. We're gonna be doing the sampling for the EPA. But I think it's a good thing that we can be part of it. We'll have some resources going forward. It's not going away. We'll have to be addressing some PFAS stuff with some of our other wells. So, some of the background knowledge we might be able to get from the engineers that we're working with, I think will be beneficial. So, but they also did say, this was kind of the first go around with it. They'll probably be stepping back on some of this stuff, more focusing on some of the things they're going to be actually looking at. They took samples that aren't really PFAS concerned at this point as well. So hopefully they can dial that sampling back instead of 10 coolers full of samples. Maybe we can cut that in half to save a little bit of time for our guys. So that'll be happening every 2 weeks for us. I think we saw some of the pictures Dan had touched on. Our guys had helped out with some of the county trunk X overlay project that was completed there. On our sewer side, it's kind of some basic maintenance type stuff. TDS has been going around to all our stations. We're going to be switching to our TDS connections. That's going to help us kind of with our SCADA upgrade projects as well, to kind of get a more dedicated communication line at all of our lift stations that are remote in some instances. Our SCADA project, I think that might have been awarded as of last meeting, but hopefully we can get, I don't think we have any dates yet. I think we need contracts to get out for that stuff yet. Our operators that are not flushing are busy with numerous locates getting called in and work orders, lots of homes getting put up. So we have lots of work for the guys who aren't flushing. Yes, touched on that. Still need to get back with Tommy Wash. We had a little project that started with some corrosion issues. I need to get back with water quality investigations to kind of follow up with the results of some sampling we did there. Our well 7 and 8 projects continue. That's really the main points I think I have. We'll probably be coming back hopefully next meeting with a list of some of our locations for our valve and hydrant repairs and modifications. Then once our flushing is done or we have free time, we can start on some of our sanitary sewer jetting as well. But I don't anticipate freeing up, so we'll probably have to wait till our flushing's done. And I noticed my addition is 4 with the customers added. It should probably be 52 instead of. Then we got our water gallons pumped for the last few months, wastewater flows, and our lift station hours.
EPA get back to you with any of the testing that they did?
No, once this, it'll probably be at least maybe by next meeting, I can probably have something. I think they're going to be putting it into some database that's going to be able to be accessed. And some of these results, we're trying to see if this is going to help us, so we don't have to duplicate efforts if it's going to qualify for our compliance sampling that we have to do for the DNR as well, since we're already going to be doing some of these sampling. I think it's as simple as if the EPA can import the data into the DNR system, it should be working, but it's really just for one well. We'd have to do we have our PFAS DNR compliance samples we're doing tomorrow. So, I mean, it's really saving us 2 bottles to sample. So, but I'll be interested to see, because it'll pay off when we got to get to our well 3 and 4 final designs, just to kind of see it's really just to see what media, ion exchange or some type of different media is going to be the best to remove certain type of PFAS, I guess I've been saying it incorrect.
That pump that were replaced for that water tower?
Yeah, the well number 2, yeah.
Yeah, that one, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys do that, or did we had a contractor come in and did it, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes, municipal well and pump did that one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had them in we had a shaft break on well 4 that we had to have replaced quickly, so they were pretty quick to get back to us to do that one. And kind of likewise with when we started seeing some of the trends that the pump, when there was no head pressure of the tower pushing against it, it could pump. But once it got a few, well, maybe 10, 15 feet in the tower, it just couldn't push against it anymore. So you could tell it was just wearing out. And So Carrie's happy, so we're happy.
What did that end up costing to replace that pump? Get them out there for it?
I believe with, I don't think I've got the final numbers. The materials itself, I think was
1,800,
for the 18,000.
18,000?
Are they interchangeable amongst wells, or is it sized differently?
They're all, well, I mean, I shouldn't say they're all different, but they're all sized differently based on the depth of the wells and what they have to push against and in August, so Carrie's getting together. They have a meeting coming up to kind of tell us what their future plans are. They apparently have a lot of money that they're going to be putting into the whole facility and determining if they're going to be treating our water for they have to treat it a little more than what we do at the well itself. So I know they said June, they should be kind of having a final understanding of what their demands are going to be for the future. So we initially wanted to upgrade. Well, we wanted to put VFD and do some of this stuff, but timing just didn't allow it. And I guess not knowing exactly where they are projecting themselves next year, the year after, 10 years from now, we didn't want to put in something that can pump 750. And then they said, well, now we need 900 gallons a minute. And so we have to do some more analysis on the well itself just to see what it's ultimately going to be able to produce to them. So, hopefully we'll have some of their information here in a couple of weeks where we can start kind of seeing what direction we're going to go with that well. And if we have to upsize the pump they put in, it should be able to pump up over, I can't remember what I said, over 1,000 gallons a minute based on what they thought. But we would have to do some other tweaks to it. So we have a VFD that we're going to be putting on just so we can kind of control how much that's going to actually be putting out. So.
Thank you. And you said that they're still flushing the mains and everything?
I think we're 82% complete.
Getting close.
Is that like the sensitivity?
Yeah, I know after one of the last meetings, Nate asked them to turn it up because they thought it was a little quiet, but I think it got turned up too much. So we're gonna have to adjust it down. I just don't know how to do that myself.
Is Nate still here?
He is back in town.
We've had surgery.
Yeah.
So it's, okay. Next up is the policy discussion recommendations, number 9, resolution 2023-011 sanitary sewer compliance maintenance annual report.
Yeah, so this is just kind of our annual resolution to approve the compliance maintenance annual report. It's basically the report that we do every year that we look into our sanitary sewer system and lift stations and kind of tracks, energy use that we use, kind of updating some of our ongoing projects and upcoming projects that we forecast for our sanitary system. I guess there's nothing really outrageous or exciting to report. I don't know if you guys had anything in there that kind of jumped out at you that you had questions about. It is kind of an ongoing thing to be looking at our capacity management operation maintenance plan along with this CMAR side of things to look at it, but we haven't had too much, I guess. Update from last year. Next year we'll have another lift station added onto our system. Hopefully some more sewer lining projects to add on to this. But nothing too exciting unless you guys have any specific questions about it.
Do you have anything to add to it?
No, I guess Josh touched on, so it's a self-graded test, we scored a 100 or we got an A on it. And then we talk about some of the goals we have for the system. So, our regular televising, manhole inspection, or, jetting of the system. Those are components of it that we, do take care of annually. So got a few other goals in there as far as some interdependencies that we're working on with Rothschild and Schofield, and have been for several years to get, I guess, more formal agreements in place, so we know whose is whose, and who's responsible for what as we flow into each other's systems, so. You know, so I'll say we have not met all of our goals, but we are making progress on them. They're just not 100% complete. And then recently, the DNR did create a certification for collection systems for operators. So prior to that, wastewater operators were only certified if you had a wastewater treatment plant. We don't have a treatment plant, but we do operate 13 lift stations and are responsible for 100 miles of main and however many manholes that consists of. So there is a certification program for our operators now to become collection system certified, which we'll have them working towards as well here. Other than that, nothing else to add.
I see there's a standard employee training system here for that you guys are working on.
Yeah, so it's kind of our standard operating procedures, you know, make sure everybody, you know, we've got a written program. This is how you operate the sewer truck. This is what you do when you know, this is how you perform a manhole inspection. So we have consistency amongst the group, and
There isn't something that's put out by the state for municipal or municipalities or on how they're handling that, or is that something you?
in general, but then if there's, you know, certain tweaks that you want to make,
Yeah.
you know,
For the equipment that you have? I mean,
Yeah.
and I've never got the same stuff, but I would think they'd have some sort of reference out there. You'd be able to.
and that's what the collection certification would be, you know, it's
Okay.
kind of, you know, you have the best management practices out there, and then
Yeah.
you modify them as needed.
There's guidelines out there. It's just, I mean, we have a list of things that we want to make our SOPs for, but it's just a matter of sitting down and actually putting pen to paper and writing them out and finding the time to do it, which usually we say come winter time, but then find other things to keep busy with too.
That'll tie into item 13 on the agenda
Yes.
to a certain extent too.
Okay.
You mentioned in that there's one of the responses, but has an energy study been performed on your pump stations? The answer was no. Or as you mentioned VFDs on one of the pumps earlier. I mean, are you doing that kind of informally or?
I mean,
Replacements occur.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we haven't done an energy study, I guess, so to speak, but as you know, when lift stations are being worked on or tweaked, there's a capacity or there's a component of that they do look into.
So we have an action on this. We have to move to adopt the resolution. So I'll motion to move to adopt resolution 2023-00 to approve the compliance maintenance annual report for Weston Sewer Utility and submit to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
Second.
Any discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Next on the agenda is capital equipment purchases.
So, yeah, I guess as we were talking with our fleet foreman Schmidt on what we're looking at obtaining or replacing, recycling through the system in 2023 here. We got a couple quotes or piece of machinery out there, which I got as ABC here on the agenda. I guess we have the estimated costs of the, you know, the replacement truck, the triaxle truck chassis, our forklift. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it was truck 99.
So truck 99 existing is our water tanker truck. And we also have a truck 28 that would be getting replaced as part of it. So as we get into the details on each one, I can cover that. I guess the point of this was that every year we have non-borrowed revenues that go into our CIP. So this coming year, it's 54,000 in expenditure restraint. Like when we work out at Ryan Street or do yard waste collection, we charge ourselves for the rental of our end loaders, dump trucks. So we had $100,000 there. We still have a part of the property tax levy, 93,000, and then part of our room tax fund, 80,000 gets put into this. And then we had a carryover last year of 187,000 from 2022 funds. So I guess going into this year, we have 514,000 and change of money that's in our CIP that's generally used for equipment. So some of the expenses are, the EMPD squad cars, they get paid out of that. Then replacement mower that Sean has identified, our park signs, and some of these other pieces of equipment. Our street sweeper lease, we have an annual lease on that. So if we make all those expenditures this year, we still have a contingency or a balance of 26,000 in those non-borrowed revenues that could still be used in 2023 to cover any overages or additional projects that come up, or that amount just gets carried over into 2024. So I guess I just kind of want to go over the overview of the funding and where that comes from, how that lays out. And then as we talk about each piece of equipment, the chassis is in here, the box sweeper and the forklift are all, identified more or less at their kind of anticipated or expected costs. So I just kind of want to overview that so I didn't have to repeat it 3 times.
Yeah, because that's the next on the,
Yeah, so then I can just get straight into.
unless you guys have a question about that.
All right, so then the triaxle chassis, so it'd be a replacement truck for our existing 91 water tanker, and then also a 1990 dump truck. The dump truck has kind of been used out at Ryan Street as a yard truck. It's not really road worthy anymore. And we'd be looking to purchase a new chassis that can be utilized as a swap loader. So the swap loader truck is the ones we use for leaf vacuuming. We use it for snow plowing. It's got the interchangeable dump box on it. So it's multifaceted. It's a way we can use the chassis year round and not have a specialized piece of equipment that just sits, 9 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year. The truck itself can be working, and it just, 1 month it might have a dump box on it. The next month it's got a leaf vac on it. So it can be well utilized the whole year, all 12 months. So we'll be looking at getting replacing, getting rid of the 2 older chassis and buying 1 new one. We'd likely add a tanker onto it then, so we'd still have the water tanker capacity. And as far as attachments go, I guess the rest of it would be interchangeable with what we already have. So again, if we're in the middle of leaf vacuuming season and one of the existing chassis has an issue, we'd have a backup truck. So we'd be able to just put the leaf vacuum unit on a new truck or on the other truck and keep going. We wouldn't be down completely. We'd be able to keep continuing service. So it would have the right-hand dual steering and have the same functionality as the other trucks. And then, the tank we could use for water in the summertime, like Dan mentioned, on our gravel roads. We can use it for restoration of lawn areas. We go water, after we maybe do a ditching project or replace inlets. We go and make sure we're watering the side of the roadways. And then in the winter time, we could put salt brine in it and use it to pre-treat roads, pre-wet systems there. So it'd be a way to kind of enhance what we currently do, but also give us some more flexibility and redundancy in the fleet while reducing a chassis that we have to worry about maintenance on. So we did get 2 quotes. One was from Truck Country. It's a Freightliner. The other one is from Midstate Truck for an International. The International didn't quite meet our spec. It was slightly cheaper, but it was didn't have the horsepower and torque specifications for the truck that we were looking for. The Peterbilt and Mack dealers opted not to provide us with a quote. My understanding is they're already 12 months backlogged on trucks and are kind of waiting for that to reduce before they start taking on new purchases.
So, we looked at this in 2020, getting this truck. Is that, if I'm reading this right?
No, so 2020 was the last time we bought a similar truck.
Okay,
So that was just kind of, ballparking what it might be to outfit the rest of it next year. Sounds like we probably have about a 12-month lead time on the truck the way it is. So,
One question I had, they're not giving you a firm price quote then, it's price and time of effect of delivery?
so as soon as we place the order, they'll give us a firm quote, but I think every day that goes by,
Okay, I just read that sense due to long lead times, the price quote is subject to change, and I went.
Yeah.
what are we approving?
yeah, so we usually tell them your price has to be good for 90 days.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but if we waited till August to say, hey, yeah, we're good, they might say, yeah, that 163, now we're at,
I was reading this like in 18 months, we'll find out what it really does.
yeah,
Surprise.
no.
Got you now, okay.
Yeah, so then I just included a couple pictures of, so this is the 2017 version of this truck, but it has the leaf vac capability, snow plowing, then we got dump bodies or the flatbed on it, so. So right now we'd be buying the chassis and it'd have the same then flexibility of having the other interchangeable parts on it.
is it basically the same truck that you have now?
It's this, yeah, it's more or less the same truck as what we have now.
One of the things that's handy about the swap loaders is you can take the box and set it down. So if we're using like a skid steer or a mini excavator, they can set it down and they can reach and dump into it with something where otherwise, you get on the truck, it's hard to get in with a skid steer to load on a single axle or tan or whatever that is because of the height. So it comes in handy that way. Is it?
We're selling a truck.
We'd be selling 2 trucks.
Both those, you're guessing about 35,000 we'll get for both of them?
I think that was combined. I mean, they're both 30-plus-year-old trucks that maybe we could get more, I guess conservatively 35,000 for both of them.
And the dump truck that we've been using out at Ryan Street, we're just gonna, that's one of them that you're gonna sell. We're just not gonna need anything like that out there anymore.
We take one of our, probably the next one and to go, I think we got like a 1996 then that would head out there.
Okay. We got something to replace that with.
Yeah, for the next few years once this truck came on board.
The bulk of the hauling with that truck out there is the leaves and grass.
Yeah.
It's not like we're hauling hard materials with the one that's out there. It's just that one's so old that he's having a hard time getting parts for it even anymore.
Okay.
So, which is good. It's not like it's gonna get pounded into the ground because it's light haul, you know what I mean?
This comes from us. We recommend it to the board and then the board will have to make a decision on the purchase. So we need to recommend the board or not.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the purchase of a triaxle truck chassis from Truck Country for $163,995.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Anything in discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is
So 10B is the
skid steer.
skid steer sweeper box. So this would be for I guess a pickup box of so it's essentially a broom on the front of the skid steer that can go sweep and it'll collect all the debris you have. So it doesn't just brush it off to the side of the road, it'll pick it up, collect it like a street sweeper would. As we, Dan mentioned milling, curb lines and those things ahead of our asphalt overlay projects. Currently when we mill, our big street sweeper can't always get into all the little cracks, crevices that we have. So then we have to get out and, but it's a little more labor intensive grabbing the hose and walking, along. So trying to find ways to be more more productive, more efficient. If we mill out wheel rutted areas where then we come in and lay the asphalt, we have to suck out that, the millings in there, so we make sure it's clean and the new pavement will adhere to it. So this is one way we could speed up that process by adding an attachment to our wheeled skid steer. So we'd have our track skid steer milling and this one following right behind, picking up the material, and then essentially creating a train where then, any pavement could come in right behind it. And then same thing when we have, projects where we get, again, we're doing inlet repairs, we're doing manhole valves. We go through and we try to sweep it up. We try to clean up our sites, especially if we're in people's front yards or in neighborhoods. So this would be a quick attachment you'd have, or are you out there using the skid steer, probably to do the restoration work. You put the attachment on and you can clean it up versus having to go back and try to grab another piece of equipment or.
Do we have anything like this now?
We don't.
So what do we do now? Somebody's out there with a broom or?
Yeah, we broom, or we try to get our regular street sweeper out there, the big one out there. We grab an end loader broom and try to push it into a pile. So it's just trying to find a way to speed up our processes and be able to make sure we're.
Can this be used on a sidewalk too?
That'd be a little wide for sidewalk,
A little wide for a
6
sidewalk.
footer. The thing of it is, the air sweep that we've got is great for sweeping curb lines and that. The problem is it's not made for picking up heavy stuff. I rented one of these years ago when I was at the county. We used to have to sweep the bridges on the 4-lane by hand when I started there in 1990. Then we took a skid steer and rented one of these with a curb room on it. But at the city, we had one too. And I'm not the one that's saying that we got to buy this, but the only sweeping capabilities we got right now is either the air sweep, the truck, which isn't made for picking up real heavy stuff, or a broom where you just blow it off the side of the road. What's nice about this is it'll broom it in a bucket of the skid steer. You raise it up, you can dump it in a truck and go. So when you got heavy buildup of stuff, or like Michael's talking about, when you're milling out, to pick that stuff up with an air sweep, you're there forever.
Yeah.
So it's a versatile piece of equipment that not just us parks too. We dump over at Kennedy Park when we're leaf hauling in the fall. To go and suck all them leaves up is a pain, so you could take something like this, run through the parking lot and get it wrapped up a lot quicker. It's a versatile piece of equipment for a skid steer.
Swirsky has one of these?
They
Or have to
do.
order it.
My understanding is if they don't have it in stock right now, it doesn't have a long lead time. It's something that they could get pretty quickly. I guess I don't know if it's on hand, like where we'd go tomorrow and pick it up, but.
It will have the curb room on it too, which is nice. So if you are on a street with curb and gutter, you don't have to, you can pull it away from the curb, it'll pull it up, and then the sweeper broom sweeps it into the bucket. Plus it'll have a water attachment on it, which is nice.
Keeps dust down.
Yeah. Especially with the grindings and silicone you want to keep down. So
And right now, these guys are just brooming this by hand.
For the most part, yeah. Getting the big stuff, try to, you put the skid steer bucket down and you sweep what you can into the bucket.
How much time would you guess that it takes for our guys to run around and do that? Versus, you throw a piece of equipment on there. You're probably free up some time quite a bit, I would imagine.
we had it at the city, and when we milled at the city when I was there, we bought one of these for that, because they bought a 2-foot milling head, just like we've got now, for milling out like on 17th Avenue. We had bad spots over by Marathon Park. Take it out there and use it. We didn't have anything like that. They ended up purchasing one when I was there, which was like 5 years ago. The only bad thing about the one they bought is the water tanks on the roof of the skid steer, which sucks. This one will have the water tank mounted on it, but the big deal is silica dust.
Yeah.
In the city, yeah, you got DSPS shows up and you got silica dust all over the place, you got trouble. So I can't tell, believe me, if you see it in action, Jasper, you'll understand.
Yeah.
That it
No,
does cut it.
I'm
in
trying
half.
to visualize. I think I've seen them on a couple of road crews. Yeah, they're real handy, especially when you're trying to take care of that. I'm just trying to think if you're freeing up some time with your guys. So I know you're working pretty quick, or you're trying to get a lot done right now, but they definitely go more efficient. We're not spewing that stuff into the air, which isn't a good thing either.
It's worth the investment, trust me. Believe me.
Happy to make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the purchase of the Vernick skid steer sweeper for the purchase price of $10,805.00.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on Dan's Christmas list.
That's okay.
This one is for I guess a dedicated forklift, a lift truck, I guess whatever word you want to use for it. You know, historically, we didn't have a forklift. We would use forks on the end of an end loader or skid steer to, you know, load, unload items. Generally speaking, there are times when you didn't have that piece of equipment at the municipal center because it was out working on a site, and then you'd have to call somebody in and have them bring the piece of equipment back just so you could load up a, you know, a piece of, you know, a casting or whatever it may be that was at the municipal center. You know, again, as we look at inefficiencies or improving efficiency, having a dedicated forklift, I guess is something that we should have. When we moved in here, we did rent one. The rental price started getting a little much, so we ended up buying a used unit just to get by, because that price was less than what the rental rate was going to be after 2 months.
What's the capacity?
I believe it's 10,000 pounds.
Battery or gas?
We're looking at a battery one.
Okay, which one do you have now?
That's propane.
LP? How much did you pay for it?
It's like 6,500.
And the rental per month was
That
approximately?
was like just shy of 3,000.
Crazy.
So, and all of this is because we were gonna do a change order. Keith, I remember you talking to me about putting in a dock, you know, a lower area, and then that would have just cost an ungodly amount of money. Plus you lost your door. And so you brought the forklift in, which makes tons of sense. But the LP, so you think you'll get any money out of the 6,500 bucks?
We should be able to get our money back out of it.
By who? By auctioning it off or
Yeah.
separately? Okay. And are you familiar with those three? You have a Cat, a unit carrier, and a Lindy?
I'm not Brian Schmidt, our fleet foreman, was the one who did the legwork on.
That was my question, because I'm very familiar with Lindy.
See, I don't want to say it, but I'm glad you said it, because I am also very, our entire company uses only Lindy.
Yeah,
We buy used and new
Also,
and electric. We have to use electric. I mean, you might do LP,
we have diesel and
but
propane.
yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds, but I mean,
I've never heard of this other brand.
we have done so many tests, and I'm so glad somebody else said something, because I didn't want to sound like I was getting a bonus here, a commercial. But for that $5,000 difference, I'm not kidding you, I'd buy the Lindy.
Okay.
And
I've seen that way also.
especially with you being able to get 6,500 bucks back on the other one. You'll be way happier. Your service is gonna be incredible. We've tried everything to not buy the Lindy, and it's
The
done.
hydrostatic
Yeah.
transmissions
Yep.
they're really nice. You don't have to have brakes.
Mhm.
They're very operator friendly. And they are a German made, very mechanically sound truck.
If you take care of them, I mean, you do the maintenance on them and stuff, it'll last you forever. That's how long this thing will last.
Sure.
It's a pretty orange color, kind of, yeah, burnt orange red. I'm just kidding.
I looked at the three and I'm like, I have never heard of unicarriers. I've heard of Cat and I
Yeah,
know
me
Lindy
too.
very well, like you do.
Well, I came in here kind of saying, why can't we just keep the old one? But then you said it's LP.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the spot to have LP, so you're mostly inside,
Yeah, and I think
so. And the trucks just come to the door, right? And then you don't have to go out in the snow or the ice.
it depends how close they can get. I mean, they try to get close.
But I mean, the doors are huge, so if they back into it, You know, they don't have to go inside, but just as long as you can kind of stay on the dry pavement a little bit, yeah. They could pelletize everything up front, depending on what the item is. That's what we're talking about, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you can use it for the upper decks.
Yeah, and get everything into the mezzanine.
Yeah.
Correct.
I certainly didn't, I actually came in here to fight for the old one, and I can't believe I'm actually seeing with the other one, so.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. I guess we were looking at, you know, the price of it and, you know, what met the spec, but
I thought I saw some stuff on that we did buy one. I thought it was in the 20,000 range, but no.
so we were initially thinking, so if I back
Not
up,
this one, but I mean, like 2-3 months ago.
there was a carbon reduction program that the DOT came out last spring with and the some of that infrastructure money. And we submitted a grant for an electric forklift.
Oh, that's what I saw.
Where our portion would have been 20,000 that would have paid for the rest. And then the state legislature, when they took that money, the budget review committee essentially said that the carbon reduction funds couldn't be used for vehicles. It had to be like fixed infrastructure, like LED lighting or traffic signals. So the DOT initially said, here's your grant, you're gonna get it, just wait for the legislature to approve it. And then they pulled what actual projects could be funded out of it, so. But yeah, so we were kind of waiting to make the purchase for the grant, and then the grant got pulled out away from us, so.
One more and I'll shut up. Equipment Depot of Wisconsin and Walter, where are those two companies from?
They're in Wausau.
Oh, they're both here. Okay.
Okay.
We buy everything from the cities, so. We transfer stuff back and forth with all our branches, so. We just buy, I mean, we probably have, out of all the equipment, we probably have 400 pieces of equipment. From tow motors and then ride-alongs, you know, so.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of, you know, we probably have 40 ride-alongs at every branch and 10 forklifts at every branch, so.
Yeah, Walter's on South 80th Ave in Wausau.
All right. Anything else?
My only question is, so your recommendation was for the unit carriers, which I'm assuming a lot of that was probably the price. Is there anything else that you're concerned about that the others don't offer?
No, I guess, with our knowledge of the equipment, you know, they all met the same specification, so. You know, we figured, you know, as long as they can lift things up, it was gonna do its job, but if there's other people in the room that have more experience with this type of equipment, I'm fine with that. So,
Yeah, I just wonder with total cost of ownership, I just wonder if Lindy's not a better value in the long run.
sure. Okay.
So it sounds like we're gonna go toward the Lindy.
I'm not voting. I don't get to vote, but if I did, I would.
I would be in favor of that. Definitely.
I'm not that familiar with them, so I'm kind of relying on you guys. So this,
With him being on the committee and having that sort of experience with that product and never having heard of the other product.
Yeah.
I guess that does somewhat concern me that they're. I don't know, I have zero knowledge on any of these products, but I kind of, I guess lean toward the people that do.
yeah, I'll go with that. So move to recommend to the village board approve the purchase of the Lindy,
Lindy, yeah.
lift from Walter for $42,698.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carries.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, if you just send me the specs to that, just email me the specs. I just would like to see what we could get it for.
Sure.
If we don't get this kind of a price, I'll be really upset, so. We might get some government thing.
And I was wrong, it's 5,000 pounds, not 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 is a huge.
I had the wrong number, I was thinking 5 tons, so I
Yeah.
multiplied it,
5
but
is- 10 is
2.5 tons,
monstrous.
yeah. So it's 5,000.
Mhm.
All right, next up, we have the item number 11. Gas, front panel. Engineering design proposals, which is for here for yes?
Correct.
Take it away, Michael.
Yeah, so I guess we received proposals for the East Jelnik and Von Kennel reconstruction project. 3 firms submitted proposals. Becker Hoppy was one. And then Clark Dietz and MSA were the other 2, which Dan is here is with MSA and Tanya is with Clark Dietz. Went through the, I guess the proposals and rated them. I can pull that up. So I apologize that we didn't get this done prior to the meeting. But the Becker Hoppy was high, I guess, cost wise, if we look at that at 387, 285. And then Clark Dietz and MSA, you know, for all intents and purposes, we're pretty close, the same cost. As we go through our rankings, you know, it's the cost is probably the one thing that tipped it from a 9.4 to a 9.3. You know, as far as, you know, as we look at the evaluation of the proposals, you know, we talk about the project understanding and approach, the firm background, the staff background is, 75%. Realistically, I don't ask firms who I don't think can actually do the work to give us a proposal. So they're all pretty solid there. The project understanding approach, I mean, both MSA and Clark Dietz took the time to, you can really tell they, they asked the right questions. They got the right, kind of, how do I call it? Reconnaissance on the project. They're out there, they're taking pictures, they're asking questions, they're floating ideas of, hey, did you look at this? Or do you think this is going to be an obstacle on the project? You maybe have some wetlands here, or did you think about utilizing this? So I guess reading through the proposals, you get the sense that, they did do their due diligence. They did, really look at what the project's going to entail, try to anticipate what surprises might be coming up. Both of them, we have worked with both MSA and Clark Dietz. They both do high quality work. So I guess, yeah, I guess our recommendation probably would be Clark Dietz at this time, just do it being slightly lower cost. And we've got 4 other RFPs that'll be coming out yet this year that the rest of the, would be up for grabs, I guess, for more people, so.
The amount again, Michael?
Oh, yep. Oops.
This is the engineering.
So this is design engineering and construction engineering costs. So it whole project. We did take out any soil borings. We'll pay for separately with American Engineering, and if there needs to be wetland delineations, those would be costs on the village. Those are hard ones to ask people to put into a proposal because until you kind of know how much or where you're going to be surveying or grabbing, it can be pretty variable. So we try to make it so that scope is as consistent as possible for everybody. So it, you don't have one firm maybe taking a big risk. And then,
We'll have additional costs about this.
hopefully not with these firms, but as far as the village is concerned, geotechnical services is always something we pay for soil borings. If there's concrete testing, asphalt testing, those parts of the project, and we generally do pay for those separately anyways. But this includes all the surveying, design, project meetings, construction oversight. I guess.
So we need a motion to recommend the board the award of $310,000 for the East Jelnik and Von Kennel RFP. Is that correct?
245.
Answer?
145.
No, that's what I put in there. I probably put what my anticipated Yeah, so the anticipated design cost is 145, and then there's engineering on top of, or construction is separate, so. So the design, the cost recommending for going forward would be the number from,
You're on, that was on your other screen there.
that was on this one, that includes engineering costs. I believe both firms are about 180,000 for the engineering side. I think math wise that works, right? Yeah, so at least 125 is roughly the design cost.
I'll move to recommend that the request for engineering services for East Jelinek and Von Cannon reconstruction project be awarded to Clark Dietz for a cost of $310,000.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. All right, next. Water meter pit results. We're on number 12.
You put together.
Alright. So yes, the water meter improvements project, this was something that I know since I've been here for the last 4 years or so that the operators have been asking what the status is of. So what this is, at our 3 mobile home parks, we have large meters that basically track the amount of water that the mobile home parks utilize. All 3 of these locations have meters that are down in either manholes or large vaults that need to be accessed, and per Wisconsin PSC need to be basically tested to check accuracy, check if they're functioning properly. So we attempted earlier this year, we had put it out for bid. We didn't get any bids in on the project at that point. We had some discussions with the consultants and some of the contractors as to why. And it's just kind of a hard project to bid with 3 locations, kind of fill in work that's difficult to get bidding on, but we did get some bids back. So we had 2 bids come in, August Winter and Sons at $361,700, and then Pembroke Company's at $363,000. So basically what this project would be is going to all 3 of our locations and basically taking our water main, moving it above ground, where then we can have an above ground meter that's in a heated enclosure where it's easier to access. There's no safety concerns for confined space, having to go down to check these things. We do hire out annual. We have to inspect many other meters, some of our smaller meters, but some of our large meters, they have to be inspected on a more frequent basis. So our 3-inch, I think it's 3 and 4 inch, or every 2 years we have to have them inspected. And then our 6-inch meter, that's at one of them. Colonial Gardens, yes. So that one has to be inspected annually. And each location, it's a varying degree of poor conditions. Our Stillwater location is in a manhole that is constantly filled with water. I know we've wanted to replace that meter, but we can't because there's not a valve that holds. So in order to do that, we would have to have a secondary project either way to get that valve replaced. And then in turn, we could replace the meter. So we tried rolling into one large project to get a little better number potentially to have all 3 of our locations really upgraded. So it's out of the elements of water, get them above ground for ease of access. And easier to maintain and make sure we meet our PSC frequency of testing and inspecting of the meters.
This come out of the KIP fund or your fund, or where is this
Yeah,
coming
the
from?
water utility fund balance. So part of our, I guess, depreciated fund.
is non-borrowed or?
Yeah, correct.
Non-borrowed, because
Non-borrowed.
utility has adequate cash on hand to do this.
When would the expenditure happen?
As it occurs, so this year.
As it occurs, so as Josh is working on these?
Yeah.
So, and our permit period is in June?
Oh, for the, yes, for the
Oh,
mobile home
okay.
parks, correct. So we could,
So that'll be after that.
yeah.
Is there any talk whatsoever of trying to recoup some of these costs to those parks?
As of yet, I don't think so. I guess it's our meter that we need to maintain. So I guess not at this point. We haven't had any discussions of recouping costs. They'd probably be asking us to do more work for them.
My only question was, there's no thoughts of any of these parks being closed for any reason, is there?
Well, that's,
I think that was
if
Mark's
the work
question.
if the work is after the permits, then that's a viewpoint. So, I mean, so if we approve it tonight, and if we have 3 parks, but one of them doesn't make it through the permitting process, then we just don't spend that much money. Right, I'm saying, so we're good to go. I just didn't know if, you know, you were gonna pull it money tomorrow or something.
Yeah, no, it's once the work's done, and if we have a priority order and we say, we want you to start at this one, and leave this one for
Exactly.
last.
Yeah.
We
That's
can do that.
That's another
I
good point.
thought one of them was a little,
My thought was more like, we're gonna retire and we thought we'd sell this and somebody's gonna use it for something else and close the.
That's my point too, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
okay. I think we're pretty safe here.
okay. All right, we're looking for a motion.
I recommend awarding the water heat meter pit improvements project to August Winter and Sons for the bid price of $361,700.
Second. Any further discussion? Favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next. Michael.
So this is I guess endorsement of a 5th utility operator. So had this at the Human Resources Committee, it was last week, but figured this was also an appropriate committee to discuss with. We have 4 utility operators, our 1 foreman and 3 senior operators. Our foreman was hired in 1994 when he became the 4th operator. Before him, there was only 3. Since that time, we've gone from 4 wells to 8, added an extra treatment system. We added a water tower, nearly doubled our water main miles, went from 59 to 111. Added an additional 2,300 customers or meters, and more than doubled our number of hydrants. So we've added a lot of infrastructure, but we haven't added any people to maintain that infrastructure. So I guess, you know, over the years, we have done things, you know, via technology, whether it's our automated meter reading, our kind of mobile devices, you know, the guys all have iPads, they get their work orders, their mapping, all that is at their fingertips, so they're not making unnecessary trips back to the municipal center to find a map or a card that tells them where to find a curb box. But I guess we're getting to the point though where you know, if we have 2 guys out flushing and we've got a subdivision going in and we've got Diggers Hotline locates, we're not getting everything else taken care of that we should be. There's more work to be done than we have people to do the work.
And I think, if I can add to that, because this came to the HR committee when we were there. Part of it too is the age of the workforce on that side of the house. We need to get somebody in there before these people start retiring and nobody is getting this knowledge before they get out the door. We also went through the budget with the finance. So we're good to go as far as adding another on. And I think there was something else too.
So you talked to Jessica and Jessica said we're good to go.
Jessica said yes.
Yeah, that was like my first question.
A month before that, she doesn't know how we're gonna pay for the raises.
So this is all utility funds. This is enterprise
Yeah, yeah.
It's
funds.
coming
Oh, yeah.
through utility, it's
Oh, yeah.
not coming through the general.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah.
No.
I'll move to recommend that they add the additional operator.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Just a quick question, on the graph that you have here, which you can't see on my phone, it's all the municipalities. It has Weston in a coral color.
Yeah.
We're not really, is it coral or pink or what?
I just grabbed a color.
It's because it's like coral, I couldn't believe it. Well, it says Weston and in parentheses it says current 5.
Yeah. Yeah, so so the 5 FTE comes from this number that we report in our PSC report, so it includes 2.5 operators, because 1.5 of them are sewer, so 2.5 of their time is water. And then half of Josh, half of Stacy here.
Okay, that's how you get the 5th one.
That's how you get to 5,
So then you'll actually be stating 6.
or maybe, we might only be at 5.5,
Why?
even if we add a full person, because they'll do some sewer
You see
work.
it, but
Well,
Keith
that's
is
true.
nodding his head.
Like that's right. It would be only probably a half or maybe.
Maybe 3/4.
Yeah, what proportion of their
Oh, I
time
see.
goes to the water
Gotcha,
utility?
okay.
He was using this as a water utility
Okay.
comparison.
Yeah, I grabbed the water utility numbers just because they're published by the DNR and it's easy, I guess it's readily available data to just kind of see where you fit in.
Boy, I thought I was really strong there because I was gonna bring up the police department.
Yeah.
And then you said, a utility, and I go, too bad we don't have a utility to pay for the police,
Yeah, well, if you followed the budget, shared revenue increases that are coming through, that is, emergency services and public works are the two
I saw all
things,
that,
so,
yeah, finally.
Yeah,
Finally, follow-up comments. I thought this was an excellent analysis.
Mhm.
It made it very easy to look at the numbers comparatively, because that's always my first question is how do we compare to
Well,
surrounding
especially
communities?
Plover.
Yeah.
I mean, we dialed right into Plover.
That's what I looked at.
So, yeah,
So, yeah, I thought it was a really good analysis.
and some of those other ones, those real high numbers, they could be wrong, so. That's roll the high ones.
so that's why we try to look at the average, right, or the median even.
Yeah.
So this ties in, I've got a little ask. If this ties into all the efficiencies we're trying to bring in here, we get another guy in. As part of your crew that, it's kind of getting ready to get out the door. My ask would be, let's just try to capture as much of that. And then the operating procedure you guys are kind of.
And that's, yeah, and I did say that kind of ties into 13. So again, our staff here is pretty seasoned. They've been doing this for, 18, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Amongst
Standard
them.
practices that you guys have, things that you come across, I don't know how well they're documented, but things like that for a new employee hire.
Kind of what we're hoping is that our foreman, he likes to be the do as I do, like he wants to show how things should be done. Well, we'd like to have it more, okay, now you can, let's sit down and say, this is how we should do it. We'll let the young guys go, show how many valves they can exercise and we can save your body for the rest of your life here now.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, Chad's good.
yeah, the master plan review presentation, so.
Right. Man, I thought I was gonna have more time for this. I keep leaving it for last. I should stop leaving it for last. Although I know who Shane was interested in, seeing this, where I put it here. I have way too many things open on my. No, it's not on your screen now. There we go. All right, so trying to get through the stormwater quality management plan. What it is, the Wisconsin River total maximum daily load was approved in April of 2019. What that meant is we then had to put together a plan of how we're going to meet that phosphorus reduction plan that the DNR put out there. So we had submitted a planning grant in 2019 and received the grant from the DNR in December. We then worked on our plan, submitted it in this October of 22. Then we're on our implementation plan, submitting that to the DNR, showing them what our proposed schedule is. And then and then each permit term every 5 years, we have to show that we're making a 10% reduction of the remaining baseline. So again, the purpose of the whole plan update was to figure out where we were, what was our phosphorus reduction before phosphorus reduction. Sorry, I got ahead of myself here. So the Wisconsin River is an impaired water of the state. So that was the reason for trying to make the water there cleaner so that it's improved water quality for our lakes, rivers, and streams in the state of Wisconsin. So we have 6 different drainage basins that we go into. Kind of hard to see on the screen here, but we have direct tributary to the Wisconsin River, the Eau Claire River. We have the Big Sandy Creek, the Bull Junior Creek, and Cedar Creek. Might be missing something in there. But essentially, we drain to those 5 different or 6 different basins in the village. So prior to the total maximum daily load for phosphorus, we were under a suspended solids removal category, which that requirement was 20% TSS removal. We as a village are at 49.8% TSS removal. So we've been good since the early 2000s. We've met all of our stormwater requirements. And then any new development that comes in to the village is required to meet 80% removal, and redevelopment is required to meet 40% removal. So how's that calculated? It looks at a I'll just wait. Nobody's listening to me.
Sorry. All 3 of the guys on shift right now are headed north.
No, one's county.
So,
Other ones went that way too.
Yeah.
So I guess our village is broken down into drainage areas, residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, etc. And it's modeled as if no controls were in place, and then an existing control such as a pond, a swale, and then some of our practices like street sweeping, leaf collection is inserted into the model to see how much of that is removed. And then you get a percentage reduction based on the infrastructure you have in place compared to what should be kind of, I guess the state has determined would be the pollutant loading from that type of land use. So again, village-wide, we were good with our TSS. We had to meet 20% compliance and we were at 49. We were good to go. However, we're only at 48.4% of total phosphorus. And we have to meet, I believe it's 68.7 number later, but we have to get to nearly 70% phosphorus reduction. So we're not quite there yet.
Is our proposal will that help these numbers?
In about 5 slides, yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. No. So again, we look at our baseline conditions. The red areas are, this is the older part of the village, kind of along Schofield Ave, our older development, and then this is more of our older industrial out kind of by Ryan Street area. And then, some of our newer development is more in the lighter blue. It's a little lighter loading. And then you look at what is after the fact. Some of these things that are hatched out, it means that we've made it 100% removal. We're good there. Those are newer developments, or an orange went to a yellow. So we reduced it there. But it's really those kind of red areas or the bright orange areas that are older parts of the village that we don't have, or older infrastructure that is piped straight into a river that doesn't have any kind of pond or treatment system before it. So again, that's just numbers. So here's our gap. So again, so in our suspended solids, it was the village as a whole you looked at, and if the village as a whole met our 20%, we were good. It didn't matter if it was all 20% was in the very northwest corner. As long as we met it, we met it. As with the phosphorus loadings, we have to meet it in each drainage basin. So actually, drainage basin 289, which is the Big Sandy Creek up here, we're in compliance there, so we don't have to worry about that. We're good. However, we only are at 37.9%. Kind of down over here along the Bull Junior, which the Weston Avenue project should help us get close to achieving that, some of the new improvements out there. 154 is kind of our Wisconsin River, so we're only at 24% removal there. 155 is more of our Eau Claire River direct tributary, where we're only at 21.6%. And those are kind of the big ones. As far as 360 pounds of phosphorus and 145 pounds of phosphorus are the two numbers there. So it's 500 pounds of phosphorus between those two that we still need to remove from the system or treat. So we talk about what are the next steps. So that's looking at some of our alternatives analysis and our structural best management practices. So talk about the Business 51 pond. It drains over 1,000 acres. It has a potential, or it's modeled to be able to meet 122 pounds. So that's 20% of what we need to remove to get DNR compliance. That pond will do by itself in one project. Another one just north of here, and then on the east side of Eau Claire Ave. So our building is just off of the page here. We're down here. We already have a 72-inch outfall that goes directly into the Eau Claire kind of drainage basin down here. So an option would be to put a pond over there. There would get 51 pounds of phosphorus reduction. And that would be a joint project with Marathon County because it also drains County Road X. So we'd have a partner in that one. So the Highway 2951 corridor pond, that's a partnership with Rothschild, Schofield, and hopefully the DOT. And then this other one, we have Marathon County that's also has to meet some of these requirements. And since it drains their road too, it'd be a project we can team up with them on. Again, Birch and Ross Avenue, so the Misty Pine subdivisions right over here. Crystal Finishing would be off the page up here. Our building is off to the east that way. So this pond has a 27.6 pounds of reduction potential. Callan and Zinzer, St. Agnes Church is right here on the bottom of it. Again, this is another spot where we have a 72-inch pipe that discharges into the Eau Claire River already. So there's a little bit of land there where we can daylight the pipe, put it into a pond, and that would be at 23 pounds of phosphorus reduction. And that's kind of draining some of that older industrial area that currently doesn't get that treatment. And if you look at that, there's other steps we can do. Try to convert some dry basins to wet basins, put in some underground detention, some hydropneumatic separators, kind of almost big filters you put down into a storm sewer manhole to capture some of that, the grit and other buildup, and then we'd be cleaning those on a regular basis. And then new and redevelopment sites, as we talk about, like Schofield Avenue or, like all these, when they came in, they had to meet an 80% TSS reduction, 1 acre, down here of commercial redevelopment at 40% equals 8 pounds. So again, if we have several redevelopment sites or even new development sites throughout the course of the year, all those add to our reduction efforts too. So the more redevelopment we have, the more we'll have kind of improved stormwater, and we'll update our model then showing that we're reducing phosphorus loadings just by having those, the private developers kind of put in some of those treatment devices, since they're required now per DNR. We can't necessarily just rely on everybody else to take care of what we need to be doing. So as you go through that step, we have 2.8 million, 2.8 million, 800,000, 1.1. So we got to start looking how do we fund this? What does that rate structure look like? We do have a stormwater utility. It was established in 2004 at $48 per ERU, and ERU is a equivalent runoff unit, which is equal to 3,338 square feet, which is the average impervious area of a single family home in Weston. Our rate has been changed once in 2017 from $48 to $50. So we had a $2 increase about 6 years ago. As we go through what I don't expect you to look at all those numbers. But a statewide average, I had those in the packet. The statewide average for an ERU is $70.85. So we're $20, almost $21 under the statewide average. So if that's one thing we could look at is increasing it as we need to meet demand as projects come up. Our stormwater utility runs pretty much at cost. We don't add a whole lot of net income every year, but we are able to fund depreciation and make sure principal payments, interest payments are being made.
Michael, would you mind putting that on the meeting for next month? So we could take a better look at that.
Yeah, no, I can update all this, but
Do you have any cost estimates on what it costs to put in a pond?
yeah, so that's where these were. So these all cost estimates came with as part of the modeling. So the Biz 51 pond is 2.8 million. The Camp Phillips.
We're trying to get the DNR to.
And so with all of these, we're submitting grants. We're trying to get the DOT to kick in. We're gonna get Rothschild School, so total project cost is that. And our goal is to make it so Weston's cost is maybe 500,000.
Right. Dave, did you have something?
Yeah, I would just wonder, from a member of the finance committee, if we could somehow get like, what's a $2 increase gonna do for the village? Or a $5 increase gonna do for the village to get us to this goal of enough pondage and all that kind of stuff? That puts it in a better perspective for me.
Yeah, and we'll be doing that probably July and August as we talk about our capital plan with finance
And it sounded like we had some partners that were maybe in some of these projects. That always helps as well.
yeah. So I guess I was just trying to give a high level overview of kind of where we're at, why we have to do these things.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think I was almost done. Yeah, I know.
Who has to approve the increase?
That would come through probably finance committee, you guys, and the village board essentially. Our utility, our sewer and stormwater utilities are unregulated utilities, so we can do that locally. We don't have to go through the PSC, whereas water rates are regulated, so that has to go through the Public Service Commission. So that was just a scenario of some of these. But I guess, yeah, just like moving forward is, we just need to determine what projects we take on and then start working on obtaining the grant funding, working with our partners, and then evaluate the utility rates to kind of see what level is actually needed moving forward here.
Let's put that on the agenda for next month.
Sure.
Dave was saying, like, give us an idea if we increase to
Yeah.
whatever it is, what that'll do to help with the cost of these.
Sure.
And then, I guess the only other thing I didn't see on the agenda here is, did DOT get back to you at all about Business 51?
They have not yet, no. I'm feeling they're dragging their tail.
Run out of time.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted an agreement by what, August? I got nothing back, I sent them the agreements and said, this is what we agreed to in 2008, and that's all we're asking for is you continue to keep that.
Just put it on
agreement in
the
place.
agenda for next month too.
Sure.
Put that on there as well.
Yep.
Okay, the next meeting date is July 10th, 4:30. Is that good for you guys? Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to say about that last item, the link in the plan, I noticed it went to a broken link on the website.
Really? Okay, my bad.
Any remarks from staff?
No, I probably talked enough.
No.
I got nothing.
Good reports, guys. I appreciate all that information. Keith,
Nothing from me. Let's get the questions.
you guys got anything? All right, we got a motion to adjourn. Second. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Required by